The news broke like shattering glass, reverberating across continents in an instant. In living rooms, offices, and crowded city streets, people's phones buzzed with urgent alerts. Television anchors interrupted regular programming, their voices tense, as the world's attention snapped to a single, shocking event. Just after midnight in Doha, when the city's glittering skyline usually signals peace and prosperity, an ominous tension hung in the air. Suddenly, explosions ripped through a luxury hotel complex, shattering the calm of the night. The blast sent shockwaves through the city, glass raining down onto empty streets, alarms wailing in the darkness. Initial reports were chaotic and contradictory. Some said it was a gas leak, others whispered about a terror attack. Confusion reigned as emergency vehicles raced to the scene, their lights painting the night in frantic flashes of red and blue. But as the dust settled, the truth that emerged was even more chilling than the rumors. Israeli special forces operating under the cover of darkness had executed a daring strike on a high-level meeting between Hamas leaders and Iranian Revolutionary Guard officials. The operation was swift, precise, and deadly. Their primary target was eliminated before anyone could react. The shockwaves from that strike are only beginning to radiate, both literally and figuratively. The city trembled, but so did the geopolitical landscape. This was not just another covert operation, it was a bold declaration to the world. For Israel, no border is sacred, no territory off limits when its security is threatened. The message was unmistakable: deterrence at any cost. The world watched, holding its breath. In capitals from Washington to Moscow, leaders scrambled for information. Analysts debated the implications, and ordinary people wondered what would come next. Qatar, a key U.S. ally and a nation that prides itself on stability, was outraged at the violation of its sovereignty. Iranian officials, furious and humiliated, vowed swift and severe revenge, raising the specter of further escalation. Hamas, reeling from the loss of its leaders, called for a global day of rage. Protests erupted in cities across the Middle East, as anger and fear spread like wildfire. Yet in Washington, the silence was deafening. No official condemnation, no words of support, just a careful, calculated quiet. Behind closed doors, some Gulf states, long wary of Iran's influence, were privately relieved, even as they publicly condemned the attack. The operation exposed the fragile, contradictory web of alliances that define the Middle East. Allies and adversaries, friends and foes, lines blurred, loyalties tested. The boundaries between espionage, military action, and outright war are dissolving before our eyes. What was once the domain of shadowy intelligence agencies now plays out in the open, with consequences for millions. The battlefield is now everywhere, from opulent hotel suites to the invisible world of encrypted data streams. Cyberattacks, surveillance, and sabotage are as much a part of modern conflict as bullets and bombs. The rules of engagement are being rewritten in real time, as nations adapt to a world where threats can emerge from anywhere, at any moment. Military leaders and policymakers scramble to keep up, knowing that the next strike could be even more unpredictable. For civilians, the message was clear and terrifying: no one is truly safe. The front lines of conflict can appear without warning, in places once thought untouchable. The illusion of peace was shattered in an instant. A symbol of luxury and security became a war zone, its marble floors and crystal chandeliers now littered with debris and fear. The psychological impact is immense: anxiety, uncertainty, and the gnawing sense that the world has changed forever. In cafes and homes, people whisper about what might come next, their eyes glued to the news, searching for answers. This is the new reality, a world where the boundaries between peace and war are dangerously blurred, and where the next crisis could erupt anywhere, at any time. The strike in Doha was not just an isolated event, it was a warning shot for a world on edge. For decades, alliances seemed stable: NATO against Russia, the US brokering Middle East peace. But the old map is fading. Certainties are gone. Alliances are now fluid, transactional, and temporary. In the Middle East, the Abraham Accords look fragile. Leaders walk a tightrope between strategic interests and public anger. The Israeli strike in Doha widened the gap between rulers and their people. NATO faces its own crisis, struggling to adapt to new threats and internal divisions. Its deployment to Jordan signals a risky expansion into the Middle East. The US is pivoting away, creating a power vacuum that Iran, Turkey, and Saudi Arabia rush to fill. The old order is gone. A chaotic, multipolar world is emerging. In recent months, the world has watched as NATO forces train alongside Jordanian troops in the arid deserts, Israeli fighter jets streak across the skies above Doha, and Russian drones silently glide over the fields of Poland. These are not isolated incidents, nor are they random acts of military posturing. Instead, they are interconnected signals, each one a piece of a much larger puzzle that is rapidly reshaping the global order. They're chapters in the same unfolding story. A story marked by the erosion of national sovereignty and the rise of aggressive new doctrines that challenge the old ways of diplomacy and deterrence. Borders that once seemed fixed are now lines in the sand, easily crossed or ignored by those with the power to do so. NATO's move into Jordan is officially described as a training mission, a gesture of partnership and support. But beneath the surface, it's a strategic maneuver aimed at countering Iran's growing influence in the region and projecting Western power deeper into the Middle East. The presence of NATO troops sends a clear message: the balance of power is shifting, and new alliances are being tested. For Jordan, this partnership is a calculated gamble, a bid for greater security in an increasingly volatile neighborhood. For Iran, however, it's a direct provocation, a sign that its adversaries are closing ranks and preparing for confrontation. The tension is palpable, and every move is watched with suspicion. The Israeli strike in Doha marks a dramatic escalation in the ongoing shadow war with Iran. It's a bold demonstration of Israel's willingness to act far beyond its own borders, targeting what it sees as threats wherever they may arise. The strike sends shockwaves through the region, raising fears of wider conflict and retaliation. The muted response from the United States is telling. Once the world's undisputed security guarantor, America now appears more cautious, its priorities shifting inward or toward other theaters. This silence is not lost on allies or adversaries who are recalibrating their strategies in response. Meanwhile, Russian drones over Poland represent a new form of hybrid warfare. These incursions are not just about gathering intelligence, they are deliberate provocations designed to test NATO's resolve, sow discord among allies, and gradually normalize a Russian military presence on NATO's doorstep. Each of these events is a calculated risk, a move on a global chessboard where the stakes are nothing less than the future of international order. Leaders weigh their options, push boundaries, and dare their rivals to respond, knowing that every action could trigger a chain reaction. The old rules, those that once kept the peace, no longer seem to apply. Treaties are broken, agreements ignored, and the mechanisms of diplomacy are increasingly sidelined by shows of force. In this environment, provocations blur the line between accident and aggression. A drone crossing a border, a jet straying into foreign airspace. Each incident could be a mistake, or it could be the spark that ignites a larger conflict. The world has become a chessboard of constant, low-level conflict, where every move is scrutinized and every response calculated. Military bases multiply, journalists race to cover the next flashpoint, and uncertainty becomes the new normal. With every move, the stakes rise higher. The countdown to the next crisis has already begun, and the world watches, holding its breath, as the game grows ever more dangerous. Behind the headlines, millions live in the gray zone, caught between peace and war. For civilians in places like Lebanon, Syria, or Doha, anxiety is constant. The threat is ever present, eroding any sense of normalcy. Children learn to distinguish fireworks from rockets, families plan for sudden conflict, leaders face impossible choices balancing alliances and national survival. Every decision risks escalation or chaos. Soldiers operate under ambiguous rules, unsure when training becomes combat. A single mistake could ignite a firestorm. The burden is immense and the margin for error is shrinking. In this world, the line between observer and combatant is perilously thin. The official story is only the surface. Beneath it lies a shadow war of hidden motives and covert actions. What we see in headlines is just the tip of the iceberg. Underneath, powerful actors maneuver in secrecy, shaping outcomes far from the public eye. Israel's strike in Doha sent multiple messages, not only that no one is safe but also that alliances are being tested, and deterrence is on display for all to see. This was more than a military operation. It was a calculated signal to adversaries and allies alike, a reminder that the rules of engagement are constantly shifting. Russia's drone incursions are a form of psychological warfare, designed to create crisis fatigue, sow confusion, and exploit divisions within NATO. Each drone flight is a provocation, a test of unity, and a way to keep adversaries off balance, never quite sure where the next move will come from. Each small crisis sows discord, weakening resolve without open conflict. These are not random events but carefully orchestrated moves meant to erode trust and solidarity, making it harder for nations to respond with a unified front. NATO's deployment to Jordan is about more than counterterrorism. It's part of a broader U.S. strategy to contain Iran's influence and pivot attention toward China's growing power. Every troop movement, every base established, is a message to rivals and a reassurance to partners. European allies, meanwhile, seek relevance beyond their borders. They are eager to assert their influence, to prove that they are indispensable players in the evolving global order, even as they navigate internal divisions and shifting priorities. Every move is a piece in a larger, multi-layered game. Strategies unfold over years, not days, with each action setting the stage for the next, often in ways that are invisible to the public. The stakes are raised by secret maneuvers and long-term plays. Espionage, back-channel deals, and covert operations all contribute to a complex web of intrigue. where today's ally could become tomorrow's adversary. Understanding these hidden agendas is key to understanding global instability. Analysts and strategists work tirelessly to decode signals, interpret intentions, and anticipate the next move in this high-stakes contest. The real competition is happening in the shadows, where power is brokered, alliances are forged or broken, and the future is quietly decided, far from the spotlight, but with consequences that shape the world. In this era of hybrid conflict, the real story is often hidden. Open-source intelligence, satellite imagery, flight tracking, social media lets citizen analysts verify events in real time. OSINT can reveal the truth behind official claims, like tracking drones or analyzing explosions. Economic signals, currency shifts, defense stocks, quiet sanctions can indicate hidden conflicts. Diplomatic language matters. Silences and vague statements often reveal more than official condemnations. Decoding these signals is essential to understanding what's really happening. The narrative is in the margins, not the headlines. Vigilance and critical thinking are required. The unseen is shaping the world. The most frightening aspect of this era is the illusion of control. Major powers believe they can manage escalation, but the risk of miscalculation is high. A single action, like the Doha strike, could spiral in unpredictable ways. Attribution is murky. Deniable attacks make proportional response difficult. Misinformation spreads instantly, forcing leaders into snap decisions. The cycle of action and reaction is now measured in minutes. There's little room for de-escalation or diplomacy. A small incident could rapidly become a catastrophic war. The chessboard is set for bolder, riskier moves. The Doha strike will likely embolden Israel. Similar operations may follow. Iran and its proxies will escalate asymmetric warfare. Drones, cyberattacks, unrest. Russia will keep testing NATO with hybrid tactics. GPS jamming, undersea activity, disinformation. NATO's unity will be tested. Can it respond without being drawn into direct conflict? Diplomacy will be fragile, with back-channel talks working overtime to prevent disaster. Expect more fiery rhetoric, diplomatic expulsions, and broken treaties. Alliances will fracture and reform in surprising ways. Unlikely partnerships may emerge out of necessity. The coming months will test diplomatic skill in a world where force is the new language. The world's foundations, borders, alliances, the line between war and peace are unraveling. Each covert strike and border incursion chips away at stability. Trust is in freefall. The old rules are gone. NATO faces a critical test. Can it adapt to new threats, or is it a relic? The stakes are global. Collective security is on the line. Are we, as citizens, ready for a world where conflict has no borders and certainty is gone? Vigilance and understanding are now essential. The ground is shifting. Will we find our balance before it gives way?